All right.
Man, you look good.
Thanks.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to CMP, or the Covenant Marriage Podcast, for episode 2. But before we get to that, we want to talk about our sponsors, who we are so grateful for. Will you highlight Linden Tech for us?
Yes. I'm going to highlight Linden Tech for us. Linden Tech is a user-friendly and aesthetically pleasing technology solutions company for your business or your home. They do audio, security, just cool things. Come check them out. Downtown Linden, Linden Tech, highly recommend. Thank you for letting us be here and record this podcast.
They also carry a really beautifully handcrafted line of leather bags, backpacks, purses. I'll have to get one and bring it over here for the next episode, but they're really high quality. So if I'm coming in here for my purposes, that's what I'm buying from Linden Tech. AJ, he would buy everything in here because it's incredible.
Yep.
Okay, and then let's give a big shout out to...
oh, yeah, the winners.
Well, hold on. Let's back up. The winners of what?
Our other sponsor,
Which is?
Westside Pizza Blaine.
Yeah, Dusty Beckham Anderson. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. And the winner is...
Kristen Suprak.
Kristen Suprak.
Yeah.
So I will be contacting you soon, friend, and I expect you to take your wonderful husband, Dave, out on a date to Westside Pizza Blaine.
Pretty exciting.
So tonight we are moving into in the beginning of our relationship. And actually what we decided to do was go over specific moments in time, because what we realized was that unknowingly we were building rapport.
Yeah.
For a foundation of a marriage. That's what we were doing, right? We built rapport with each other. So why don't you go ahead and tell them about faiths colliding?
Yeah. So, I guess at that point, I am, and I was, but I am a Christian. And so Bible-believing Christian, we kind of...
And I was Mormon. I was LDS.
She was LDS. And I had just gotten to the command. We were kind of, this is about over a 3-4 month time period. And we had gotten to know each other. We were kind of best friends at this point. And we kind of had this moment in time where eventually we had to talk about it. So,
and I quote, looks at me dead in the eyes and says, "You don't know the Christ of the Bible." And I didn't. Actually, I really didn't. But the purpose of that was because LDS members, Mormons, Latter-day Saints, they believe in the King James Version of the Bible. I had never read it.
yeah.
I had skipped around in it. I knew the stories, but I had never actually picked up the Bible and read it. Book of Mormon, front to cover, maybe 6 times. Or cover to cover 6 times. But never the Bible.
Yeah, so we kind of just had some, I had some things that were important in my faith that I wanted my wife to line up with me as well.
And at this point, you were just looking to convert me. You weren't looking for a wife in me. I was not.
Yeah. At this point, we were just in our friendship. We were just working through things because we were, we were in each other's sphere.
Close
We'd see each other at work. We'd see her
totally
off hours. So it was just,
And the purpose of my gravitation towards you was you were completely different than everybody else in the military. You weren't getting drunk. You weren't trying to get your claws into me like a lot of the other men were, right? You didn't make lewd comments to me, inappropriate, anything. So from there, right, which I consider that rapport building, let's go into the next topic, the poo.
Yeah, so I'm single, 25-year-old-ish, 24, 25.
Knows nothing about kids.
Nothing about kids. She had 2 kids.
Little kids. Diaper.
Yeah, 2 and 4.
Diaper age child.
So
I go on a date with my boyfriend at the time.
yeah, so she's dating another guy. We're like best friends, or at least we're working towards being best friends.
AJ hates the guy.
I don't think they're good for each other. But I'm supportive. I'm not, whatever. I was like, yeah, I'll watch the kids. So this is my first time babysitting ever.
Didn't want kids.
Yeah. Didn't really want kids. Maybe someday, but that was
Didn't like kids.
That was way off in the future with the perfect wife I was going to marry at the perfect wedding at the perfect time, and then we'd have perfect kids. So
okay, wait. So let's go back though. Here's what happens to me. I'm on a date, Ruth's Chris, right?
yeah,
And
nice.
I get a call. It was not great. It was not a good date. Anyways, I get a call and it's like, you have to come home now. I don't know what happened. There's poo everywhere. You just have to come home.
I was panicking.
And I was like, what? So I get there and I walk in and my nose is just welcomed by this wall of musk.
So let's back up here.
Musk wall.
The 2 and 4-year-old, 2-year-old daughter, 4-year-old boy.
He puts them to bed.
Okay, yeah, like any responsible babysitter.
In separate rooms.
I put him to bed. I put the daughter in my personal blow-up mattress on the floor as a bachelor. So she got the nice bed. My son, who is now my son, the boy, he got the sleeping bag, my Navy-issued sleeping bag with a pillow in the other room. And he wanted a story, so I told him about little AJ running up to the house and crapping my pants when I was like 9. Do you crap your pants at 9? No, like...
I hope not.
6. Can we go 6? So he's laughing so hard, he's grunting. And I'm like, this is weird. And so I was like, okay, well, whatever. So I close the door. I'm like, good night. Fun little story. He's still giggling and like grunting. I'm like, God, that's weird. So I go and I check, like I got a text from her, I think like, make sure you check the baby before she goes to bed.
Back up. He pooed in front of you and you knew it and you took care of it.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you were like, he just started grunting. This is why I got the phone call.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So back up a little bit more. So I check her.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, make sure you check the baby before you put her down. So she was a little bit younger, not quite as tired because that was my little buddy. So I pick her up and I'm like, yep, smells fine. And I put her in the bed.
That's how we check the baby.
Yeah, I don't know. And I didn't want to know. It's just like, good Lord, a diaper's disgusting. So
anyways,
I go over, tell this good night story to him. He grunts a bunch. And then I'm like, at the end of the story, he's like, are you pooping? Are you pooping right now?
My sleeping bag?
In my sleeping bag? And he's like,
yes.
Isn't it funny? Yes. Because he was trying to mimic my story that he thought was funny. So he thought crapping in my sleeping bag would be funny to me.
It was funny.
And as I look back at this, I'm like, that was funny.
Yeah, cue panic text.
I was like, you've got to come home. There's crap in my sleeping bag.
But by the time I got there, he had taken care of Noah.
Yeah, so I kind of figured that out.
And he put Noah back to bed.
Got him back to bed, and I'm playing my Xbox.
And I went in to check on the baby.
Yeah.
And as soon as I walked in, I was like, good night. Like, you didn't wipe good enough, or...
She opens the door. I'm not smelling this.
Because I could smell it.
And so she's like, did you check the baby? And I was like, yeah, I checked the baby.
Shows me how we checked the baby.
I checked her like this. Nothing smelled. I put her in bed. So then
I went into his room and I opened the door and the waff explodes in my face. And it's a good thing my mouth was closed because it was thick.
And I'm like, what? Oh, what? And so we approach this room.
Light off because baby's sleeping.
Yeah, we're like, we don't want to wake her. And so Cherisa gets down on her hands and knees.
And I'm crawling. Yeah, I was crawling because I didn't want to wake her up. Because if you're a parent, you know that if you wake that baby up, she's up all night long.
Yeah.
And so you're crawling in and out of the room
and I'm
like
just
a ninja.
What is she doing? Because, of course, I'm not a parent.
And I freaked out because several months prior to this, I was in A school. So that's the training right after boot camp. It's specialized job training in the military. And I was in A school, and at Lackland Air Force Base, they have these huge cockroaches that not only do they fly, but they hiss at you. And the guys used to think it was funny when we would get lined up in ranks that they would kick the cockroaches at the girls. Well, the cockroaches would zip around hissing and then attach to people. And one time I had seen it do this to a guy, and he freaked out. He couldn't get it off him. And so I had this really very big fear of cockroaches.
So that's important.
It's important.
So
I'm crawling
she's crawling, and she's like,
in this room.
oh my gosh, there's poop on my hand.
And
I was like,
knee.
And knee. And I'm like, oh no. So then I'm like, I got to flip the light on.
He turned the light in the hallway on and opened the door. And we saw that there was a trail of poo sludge from the pillow, which it was on the pillow, and the baby was laying on the pillow asleep, all down the bed and onto the side of the mattress, and then all the way up to the back of the door handle and on the door handle.
Probably where she was trying to tell me she crapped my bed. And I didn't know she was doing that.
So I am mid-crawl on the floor. As soon as the lights turn on, I hear, and I look up on the ceiling and I freeze. And I'm like, you gotta get it. You gotta get it.
And I'm gagging. I'm, and she's like, I'm not moving until that cockroach is dead. And I'm like, I'll get the cockroach. You do everything else. So I kill the cockroach. No big deal.
I crawled to the baby and I was like, okay, I got to wake her up, right? I can't just. I
mean, she was just, there was poo everywhere.
I pick up the baby. Like, this was like blowout.
It was beyond that.
So I give the baby to him and he's holding her like this. And I said, take the baby and put her in the bath. And I'll clean up. And I start cleaning everything up. I'm stripping his bed. I'm cleaning his floors. I'm cleaning the back of the door, which it was just like, here's the handle and all my little handprints. Like, she just climbed up the door with poo on it and couldn't get the door open, and then climbed back in the sludge and laid down and went to sleep.
In my bed.
And so I clean everything up.
Air mattress.
I put it all in garbage bags so we can take it downstairs to wash it. And as I'm going into the hallway, I turn into the bathroom, and AJ's still standing in the bathtub holding the baby like this.
I didn't know what to do. I was gagging. I was like,
you said put the baby in the bath, so I put the baby in the bath.
Thing that's just full of crap.
So I start taking off her clothes. I rinse it out, and then put it in a grocery bag. While AJ goes downstairs to do laundry, and I start cleaning up the baby.
Oh my gosh!
And then I took my kids home.
Had no idea what to do.
So there's poo. That's the poo.
The poo story. And so we're bonding, obviously, as friends. And
we're building rapport at this point.
I just got my sticker for first time babysitting. Like, I babysitted today.
So let's go into DTR.
Determine the relationship.
Yes. And in parentheses, I love you.
Yeah. So at some point in all of this,
poo.
Our relationship started growing. I mean, when you go through something like that and you're just friends.
Traumatic.
It's like those who suffer together bond together kind of a thing.
Well, okay. And then we had other moments, right? So I started to tell him I loved him because I truly felt it.
Yeah.
And what was your response?
Thanks.
Over and over and over and over and over. And eventually it got so commonplace that thanks was just normal and it was fine, and neither one of us were hurt or offended. However, we go to this gun show with a friend, and he's carrying said baby on his shoulder. She's not that young. She's almost out of diapers by this point.
Yeah.
And she falls asleep with her chin on the top of his head. And he goes, hey, did she fall asleep? And I was like, oh, yeah, shoot. I was like, do you want me to hold her? He's like, no, she's fine. I think she's drooling down the side of my face.
Is she drooling
In my ear.
In my ear? Because I just felt this warm sludge. And I was like, it's either like me freaking out, blood, and then it is going in my ear. Because my head was cocked a little bit to keep her head on my head.
So I said, let me wipe it up. And he said, no, just leave it because she'll just keep doing it.
Just keep drooling.
And that was a defining moment for me. And so as we drove home that day, I said, listen, you keep telling me thanks. So, and I know you don't want me to be in love with you. So let's make a pact that anytime you do something that just makes me burst with whatever, Twitterpation, I am going to say to you, put the baby down. And then you have to immediately stop what you're doing.
Yeah. So that was...
And we used that.
We did. We did great.
Yeah.
I stopped doing whatever I was doing. I did not want her to fall in love with me. I was like, I'm just here to
I'm
be
not a
friends.
Christian. I'm not a Christian,
yeah,
right? That was the biggest
deal.
thing.
Yep.
So let's talk about DTR then and the entrapment of Caitlin Espinel.
Yeah. So we were walking to the car one day, all three of us, and Caitlin was like, why don't you guys just start dating? And she kind of turns at us and like, oh, I can't believe you said that. And then
Like a grown
just
woman.
takes off running. Like,
Adult.
yeah. It's like, well, that was weird. And then I kind of explained to Caitlin, and then later we
Came and found me at my
came and
car,
found her.
huddling in shame.
And I was just like, look, we could probably start dating, and we'd have a fun dating relationship. And we could probably even get married and have a good marriage or a decent one,
Mm-hmm.
But I said, I'm looking for so much more than that. I'm looking for somebody that can encourage me at the deepest spiritual level that's on line with my faith, and that when it's the darkest time, we can lean on the same, like Christ
We can lean on Christ.
that we both, believe in and work through at the deepest level.
And you said you wanted a woman who would raise your kids up to know him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's DTR and I love you.
Yeah. So that's kind of...
So let's go to the next moment in time, the Christmas party.
Oh, man.
I was the morale and welfare rep for our portion of the command. So probably about 200 people.
Yep.
And so as a part of a committee that hosted command functions and parties, and currently the relationship that I was in was with a superior of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And he did not want to go to the dance with me or the Christmas party, because that was a big no.
Yeah.
But AJ and I were just friends. So I said, well, I got to take a date. I'll take AJ.
This guy.
Not a big deal. I'm just in love with him. My boyfriend doesn't know it. I'm still kind of fighting it, but also I love him, but maybe I just love him as a friend. And that's a really confusing time for me because he's helping me. Anyway.
Thanks.
Christmas party. Thank you. Let's stop talking about it. Anyway, Christmas party comes. We're dancing on the dance floor. And
Crushing it.
this boss does a handstand, to which he swiftly kicks me in the neck.
Yeah.
Crickets.
I can't say. That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. I was trying to do a cartwheel. It turned into a handstand. I lost balance and then just smoked her right in the neck with my foot.
And also not the only time he did that. And I married him before he did the next one.
It's good dance
At the
moves.
following Christmas party, I think, two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Worst. Anyway.
It's a good dancer.
So at that night, and I found this out later, that night I had danced with my boyfriend, but I didn't come with him, so it was okay. It was just weird.
Yeah.
And I danced
weird.
with you and I danced with other friends. It wasn't a big deal. Well, what I found out later on was from, MA2 Parker, Michael Parker, shout out.
Ooh.
He said he told his wife that night, yeah, there's that girl and she's in love with this guy, but both guys are in love with her. He called it. He knew.
He knew.
Man. So that was a super defining moment for me,
Yeah.
for you. So our next moment in time is Arthur Murray and throwing AJ under the bus.
Yeah. So then as we kind of moved down this journey, I was dating a girl up in Connecticut, kind of quasi dating. And I was like, I'm going to take dance lessons, take her to a ballroom dance thing, and then just be super cool.
Sweep her off her feet. He was
Sweep
trying
her off
to
her feet and all this stuff. And
woo
so
her from a different state.
So then the only person I knew and trust that was a female was this woman.
And at this point, I was telling him I loved him, but I was not hitting on him.
Yeah.
And I was giving you pretty sound advice as far as
There was good boundaries. I thought we
very
were doing
good
okay.
boundaries.
And so she was like, yeah, I'll do that because I care for you as a friend. I'll go dance with you and help you learn how to dance with somebody else.
And also maybe secretly I get to dance with him. And how cool was that? But I was still respectful.
Yeah. So day one, we show up and they're like, oh, you guys are so cute. When's the big day? And I was like,
he
oh,
said
cool.
nothing. He was speechless.
I didn't know what to say.
I didn't even think of it. I just said, oh, no. It's not even like that. I'm totally in love with him, but he just doesn't feel that way. Didn't think about it. It's just still to this day, I see nothing wrong with that. I'm just kidding.
Big old bus came out of nowhere and crushed me. So they all looked at me with hate and discontent and like, wow, all right, I guess we'll teach you guys.
After we got together, AJ told me that at many times, people at the command had come up to him and just been like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you with this girl?
Yeah.
Because you held a different standard than the world, right?
Yeah.
Praise God for that. Because if you had held the standard of the world, I wouldn't have wanted you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
You would have come and gone. So let's move on to gas mask. And I think the story's funnier when you tell it.
So.
Kind of.
Most of the stories are funnier.
Okay, so I'll just tell it.
So I'll tell it. So we're sitting there, we're dancing and like, it's fun. And
at Arthur Murray
Dance Studio, pretty good dance studio. There's glass walls, and it was like on the second level, so it kind of looked over the street and stuff. And so we were dancing, learning our stuff, and our dance instructor was pregnant at the time.
Super pregnant,
like 1 million months. And she ended up she was like, I got to take a break. I need to go to the bathroom or whatever. And we're like, okay, cool. So we stopped dancing. And Cherisa just kind of walks over by the window, and it's pretty hot in Virginia at this point.
They have a huge box fan. I'm telling you, I think this box fan was like 5.5, 6 feet tall.
It's a commercial box fan.
It's
like
huge.
You can't miss it, and you've got to know.
No, you don't. It looked like a wall.
It sucks air from behind and pushes it through so we can all cool down. And so Cherisa's just kind of slowly walking behind this huge box fan. You know, looking out the window, I'm just like, I'm standing kind of in the same spot, literally the same spot.
There's like 20 people in Arthur Murray.
Yeah, other people are dancing. So I didn't want to get in their way. I just kind of was like, okay, this is our zone. I'm chilling. And then Cherisa starts running towards me. And I think she had high heels, but she was like, and I was like, what is going on? And she grabs me by the collar and pulls me in. She goes, you have to take this from me. And
for me.
You have to take this for me and lets go of me. And right as she lets go, this
waft. And you can hear it actually come throughout the studio with the different layers of people. It's like, oh.
And then
it hits AJ.
Just hits me. And I'm like, oh.
Now we know that I am intolerant of salmon, and I had that for lunch.
Yeah. So she lets the salmon out behind the backside of this box fan, runs over to me.
You have to take this for me.
Grabs me, whispers, because she pulled me in, you have to take this for me. And lets me go right as the stench hits me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And right as the instructor is returning and she's pregnant and she goes, oh, and puts her nose like her hand on her nose. Oh, and I go, I'm so sorry. I just couldn't hold that in. I apologize. And I totally took it for you like a boss.
Rapport building.
It was so good. Pregnant dance instructor's about ready to Ralph on the floor. And she goes, no, that's fine. It's okay. It's okay. I'm fine.
So that's
like,
gas
okay.
mask.
So that's our gas mask story. And, you know, we're just friends at this point.
And while we have a lot of like really funny moments, right, there are some really serious ones. I mean, I just come out of a divorce.
Yeah.
I was in an abusive relationship. I had chaos throughout my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this one is called After Passover. And AJ actually can't share this one because it happened to me.
Yeah.
So AJ's friend, James Jansma, had invited us to Passover. Seder? Passover?
Yeah,
Passover.
It was Passover.
And
Which I don't know exactly everything about that.
if you are not Jewish or Messianic Jewish or don't practice this, then you might not know this. But after each little thing, they take a little bit of wine. They take a drink of wine. Well, this big lug is not a drinker. And so after about the fourth little thing of wine, he was like, oh.
I was gone.
He was gone. So I drove him home, right? We driven there together, but it was his car, but I drove him home. And I walked him up the stairs to make sure he got there. And on the way, I'd called my boyfriend and asked him to come and get me. Well, I legitimately got AJ to the house, pretty much pushed him inside, said, thanks for a great night, and shut the door. I come back downstairs, and my boyfriend is already there. And he's questioning how long we've been there. He's sitting on the hood of my car, and he's like, how long have you been here? And I was like, we legitimately just got here. I walked him upstairs because he's like kind of drunk and then came right back down. I like didn't even really say goodbye to him. I was like, why? And he's like, because the hood of the car is cold. Like just questioning how long I had been there, right? And I was like, okay, that's weird. But, not looking for signs. And I get in the car with him, and he starts just blaring down the road, takes the corner way too fast, doesn't stop at the stop sign, and starts erratically swerving the car. And I'm scared, and he starts to yell at me about how much I love AJ, and he knows I'm in love with him. And I'm still trying to work those feelings out. Like, do I just have love for him, or am I really in love with him? Yeah. Because he has a girl he's dating that he thinks he might be in love with too. And it's a really confusing time. And
you guys know,
he's
right?
also not willing to tell me he loves me back. Even as a friend, he wasn't telling me he loved me back.
Yep.
So I was very confused. I go to call AJ to help me. And he takes my phone and he said, you're not going to call your Superman. And he throws it on the ground of the car. And he drives probably 2.5 miles past my house, blowing through stoplights and stop signs. Mm-hmm. Well, the intersection that we got to was so big that he couldn't blow through this one. We would legitimately have died. And so he squeals the wheels to a stop, and I get out and I just start running, and cars are pulling over trying to help me because he skidded the car in a half circle. I mean, this sounds like it's out of Fast and the Furious. Yeah. Comes to a stop and wraps me up in a bear hug and tries to pull me back into the car backwards. And I got out and ran to a woman's car who had pulled over, and she was obviously shaken. And he is like, come back here, AJ's on the phone for you, which I guess he legitimately did call you, but I didn't trust him to come back.
I was passed out on the couch.
Okay.
And then I got a call, and it was weird. He's asking for her, and I was like, she's with you. Why are you calling me?
And by this point, the alcohol is worn off, even the ride home, it was wearing off, you know. And,
so it was just weird. So then I just started thinking, like, what's going on? If she's not with him, where is she?
Yeah. So I ran to this lady's car. She's calling 911 because she's shaken. But because he's a superior, and because I can't afford to lose money by getting bumped down a pay grade because of my 2 kids.
Yep.
Because at the time, child support wasn't really worked out with my ex-husband. So it was kind of like nothing.
Yep.
He would pay what he could.
Yep.
And he wasn't a deadbeat. He just was having a rough transition too. So This lady's calling 911. I'm talking to the operator, but I don't want to give her too many details because I don't want to get bumped down in pay grade. So I just get out of the car and I start running.
Yeah.
And I ran home barefoot because I had worn heels that night.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I see you just blaring around the corner and I'm waving you down and I've still got a mile to run and you just blitzed right past me.
Just
I'm like,
missed her like crazy.
no. So here I come running that extra mile.
I'm already at her house.
It must have been like three miles minimum.
Yeah.
And by the time I get up there, I'm just sucking wind, trying to get back to my kids before he does. But luckily, my roommate was watching the kids at that time. He watched the kids that night. And they were in the room with him, and he was just calming them down. And the boyfriend's sitting on the couch, and you're standing there talking. And I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, we just had some words, and I was pretty upset, so I just told him not to move from that couch.
Right. So I remember you grabbing my hands and looking me in the eyes and saying, go get the kids and get their stuff and your stuff, and you're going to come stay at my house for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I go and I do all this and I get the kids. But we hadn't transitioned out of the house yet. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But before the kids left that room, I remember hearing you say, sit down. You're not a man. You have 3 days to get your crap and get out of here, because he was living with me.
Yeah.
And it was very traumatic. There was lots of fighting. My son, my oldest son, had a really hard time because the boyfriend did not like my son, which I was in total denial about. And so I take my kids, we go out of there, and we slept at your house that night. Once again, Noah in the sleeping bag, Lily in your air mattress, Kylie in your air mattress, no poopies.
It was good that night.
And I slept on the brown, gray, yellow couch.
The most amazing couch.
And you laid next to me on the floor all night, and you held my hand all night. And I woke up and you were still holding my hand. And I think that might have been the first time in my life I had ever had a man who had stayed put.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I didn't have a dad that stayed until I was a certain age. And I understand that we grow as parents and in marriage. And so then sometimes there is need for separation. I'm not disparaging my dad or my mom for that. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't that, or my ex-husband and I didn't stay together for a certain length of time. But at that moment, what my mind said was, he stayed.
Yeah.
It was defining for me.
Hmm.
So now we're going to move on to the next moment in time. And it was the conversion.
Well, I also was like, kind of like, not on my watch. I'm not going to have my best friend and her kids suffer for... Anyway, I kind of was... The relationship was toxic for quite a while,
Yeah.
and so it wasn't necessarily a surprise. But yeah, I don't know. I just had, again, compassion for you guys, and I just wanted you to be safe and okay and sleep on my really cool green couches.
It wasn't the green couch that night. It was the floral, once was white, but is now brown gray
That was a good
couch.
That's the bachelor couch.
That was really
good.
gross.
So anyway, yeah, it was, that was a pretty traumatic night. And I just remember I just wanted you to feel safe.
And I did. I did feel safe that night. I felt secure and defended and taken care of by a person who didn't need to take care of me.
Yeah.
So the conversion.
Yeah.
So at this point, I had started reading my Bible, which was the King James Version. I wanted to know what was in it. But I was kind of seeing things that weren't necessarily lining up with what I thought I was taught. And it was really confusing because the language, the verbiage in the King James Version was really difficult for me to understand. And I'm not saying it is for everybody because I know it's not. It's eloquent, it's beautiful, but it was very difficult for me. However, at that time, I had decided to go to Virginia Beach Community Chapel because I needed God. And that's just the truth. I needed God. I needed to dip my toes in. There wasn't a local LDS church.
Yeah.
I needed something. And at that point, Zoom was like unheard of.
Non-existent.
We did have it, but we weren't like using it like we did after COVID. Okay. So at this church, they had a Bible study of women because I couldn't always go to church. Sometimes I was on watch, but they had a Bible study on Tuesday mornings. And for whatever reason, Tuesday mornings, we got to go into work late.
Yeah.
And these ladies who met, called the Pearls of Wisdom, were all 70 plus years old. And they were not pulling any punches. They would tell me the truth. I would go in there with a list of questions and they would answer them. I would write down their questions and I'd look them up in the Bible.
Yeah.
My Bible that was given to me and had my name on it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm really starting to question some things about being LDS. And this is my story. I'm just putting this out there for whoever wants to hear it. This is Cherisa Hukama's story. I did not know a true, authentic walk with Christ. I had tried so hard at different points in my life, but then also had very wayward moments in my life. And it was very difficult for me. And I had had so much trauma that had happened throughout my childhood into adulthood. And then, at that point, clearly still wrapped up in chaos.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So you're having the hard conversations with me about how I don't know the Christ of the Bible.
Yeah.
I am reading kind of my Bible, but that takes a long time to get through. And I wasn't fully grasping what was being said.
Yeah.
We just had this after Passover night.
Yeah.
And come to find out that ex-boyfriend, who is now an ex-boyfriend, had organized the command or the people in the command that were friends with me to donate money to get me a GPS because I was getting lost all over. I was legitimately lost all the time.
Not a navigator.
Okay.
She drives, I navigate.
Oh
It's a
my
good
gosh,
team.
it's so bad.
It's
I know my left from my right. I even do this thing. But for some reason, when I'm driving, if he says right, I'm like, "Rrr." Go left. Rrr. So we have agreed that now, when I drive, he goes like this in front of my face for the way I should go.
It's just easier.
14 years of marriage, this is what we've learned. This is our compromise. Or he will be frustrated and ready to strangle me.
If I drive.
And we'll drive around in circles if I drive.
Yeah.
Okay. So the conversion comes because now not only is it a gift that Command has bought me, but he's invited these people to the Cheesecake Factory to celebrate my birthday.
Yeah.
And we are now broken up after this incredibly crazy night, which there was build up to this. This didn't just go, boom, I'm a psycho. No, there was lots of build up.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not a psycho.
Okay. On the way there, or before we left my apartment with my kids, AJ and my best friend, my biffle, Katie, had both come over at the same time unknowingly, and I'm unwrapping both of their gifts. And Katie hands me this little gift, and I unwrap it, and it's a travel-size King James version of the Bible, which fit right inside my cargo pocket. I took it all over Africa and Spain. It was incredible on deployment. It was so good for me, and I just started devouring it. Then AJ hands me his gift, and he had got me two. And the first one I had opened, his best friend in Connecticut is just this incredibly gifted artist, and he does micro art, and it's all, or at least this portion was Christ-centered. And it was of faith, hope, and love in human form, sitting on a bridge, and then the whole Bible played out and portrayed on the steps of the bridge and then all around. It was just gorgeous. I mean, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth and the
Yeah.
sky and the waters and the man and women, and it's all there. The animals, and Adam named the animals, and out of Adam's rib, God created women. All of this is there in this art,
Yeah. It's
micro
incredible.
art, and it's incredible. And I remember wanting to cry because it was so beautiful. And he hands me my next gift, and I open it, and it is an NIV study Bible. NIV, New International Version. And so I could take my King James Version and put it next to my New International Version and go, oh, yes, it actually makes sense that this is what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the book that I felt so comfortable with, and this is what it's saying. For the portions I didn't understand, right?
Yeah.
So I get my Bibles, I get my kids, I get in the car, and we're driving to Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
And on the way there, I'm listening to Mercy Me because we'd also gone to Busch Gardens, Katie, you, I, and
Yep.
some other people. And Mercy Me was playing there. And we'd gotten a CD from Mercy Me, and I was listening to I Can Only Imagine, and I'm stopped at the light, and my kids are just fighting and screaming, and I lost my mind. And I turned around and I said, knock it off. I don't need this. I'll turn right around. I don't even want to go to this party, and we'll go home.
Yeah.
And my daughter, who is highly sensitive and always cries, was dead silent. And my son, who never cried, starts to wail. And he says, you think I'm a bad boy. My heart just broke. And in that moment, I remember crying out to God, and I put my hands out and I said, Jesus, I need you to come into my life. If you're not here, I surrender my heart to you because I am a terrible mother and I can't do this on my own. And I don't see it getting better with us, for us, without you. And I felt this tangible something come off of me and peace just fall. Like the tears I was now shedding no longer had this negative impact to them. It was very strange.
Yeah.
Kids are still having their thing in the background, but it was very strange. I apologized to Noah. I Can Only Imagine is playing. The light's now green, but it doesn't matter because nobody's behind me. And this big beam of light comes in through my windshield. And I was like, wow, I just surrendered my heart to Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've always believed in Christ, not a big deal, right? Move on.
Yeah.
So I park the car, get the kids out, go down to the Cheesecake Factory and tell you, hey, I just surrendered my heart to Christ. And you picked me up and spun me in a circle.
Yeah.
You were so excited. And then you called your friend and you were like, my friend Cherisa just became a Christian. And I was like, no, I didn't.
Yeah. It's all in the surrender.
Because in
Yeah.
prior knowledge said that I needed to be baptized to truly be a
Right.
part of a religious
Right.
belief.
Yeah. So that was on her birthday, April 18.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was an awesome birthday gift. So for me at that point, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Because that was the break of about a 3-week prayer. Like my buddy and I, who I called, we kind of showed her the gospel in a shorter version, but that was it. We just had to pray and let it marinate. And then all of a sudden on her birthday, this is what happens. And Jesus met her in a way he needed to meet her.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's
so,
right.
that was an amazing day for us.
All of us.
Yeah. It was just really great.
Yeah. I had never felt that tangible peace before. I had never, ever felt anything like just lift off of me. It legitimately felt like I had been running around with, I don't know, a tack vest on.
Yeah.
And it left me. That's how heavy that was.
Yeah. It was amazing.
So
Yeah.
that is a lot of our crucial moments in time.
Yeah.
In the beginning, building up to what would later become our marriage. We felt it was beneficial to share some of those key moments with you, maybe get a couple laughs out of it.
Yeah. any similar poo-poo stories,
We would love to hear them in the comments.
yep, let us know.
Yep. Once again, we will be offering a free large pizza, a free breadstick, a free 16-piece wing, or a free pasta as a part of a date night to Westside Pizza Blaine.
Yep, for you
So
local folks.
please comment down below for you local folks. And yeah,
We're really thankful that you're just joining us on this journey. Again, back to our mission statement is we really want to provide hope and encouragement through our transparency as a couple to you guys to just, a lot of this is probably normal, some of it maybe not normal, but how two chaotic lives are coming together and what we've done to work through those things. So this kind of sets the stage before we get into our marriage.
right. So thank you for joining us. We look forward to receiving messages from you, communicating, and we will see you back here next week, Sunday.
Yeah, it's exciting.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Bye.